Welcome to the EQ Video Tip. I'm your host, Eric Forsetter. It's great to have you back. We've got an amazing show on tap for today. Let's jump into the goals of EQ Video Tip. Welcome back. As you can see, I'm wearing a great hat today, and I want a quick shout out and a thank you to the SA Specialist Database team for inviting me in to talk to their team about EQ today. Really appreciate all your time, and of course, always appreciate the swag, so thank you very much. Now let's jump in and talk about what today's tip is going to be. And actually, we've got a great double feature. It's about how to get people to change and change in their life. It could be changing their opinion on something or to change a matter. No matter what it is, we need to figure out how we're going to change them. This article comes to us from one of our favorites, Eric Barker. He wrote a great article on how to change people and to how to influence others. We're going to jump in right now to some of Eric's tips and go from there. Our first tip, and this is a tough one, but nobody likes to be told what to do. Think about it. When your mom, when you were younger, or your dad or parents or whoever said something like, hey, go clean your room. No one wants to do that. That's not the way to invoke change in someone. In fact, it's probably the opposite of what we want to do. Because if you think about it, change talk doesn't really drive anything. We need to have sustained talk. Because a client who wants to, let's say, stop drinking, they also don't want to stop. So we need to figure out a way to sustain them. And what Eric talks about first is to value and understand their ideas. And what we're looking for is for them to convince themselves, because the only person who's going to convince you to do something is really you. So think about what about you is going to make the change. And when I say you, the person on the other side of your argument, so to speak. So we need to think about what motivates them and what's causing that resistance. When you understand their values and start becoming empathetic, it's going to help you out. Remember, before we start with these techniques, nobody likes to be told what to do. So let's take a look at the techniques we're going to use today. Tip number 2, people don't actually need a good talking to, they need a good listening to. And when we think about it, we have to use a technique called OARS, O-A-R-S. OARS stands for asking open questions. So when you think about asking an open question, you want to be like a reporter. You want to ask something like, how do you plan on doing this? Or what are you going to do? Don't ask something like a yes-no question. Do you like this? Or are you happy? Because those are yes-no type answers. So start with an open type question. After that, we want to use the A. Affirm the strengths that are in there and in their beliefs so that you are understanding them and listening to them and actively listening. Then use a thing called R, reflective listening. Repeat back or mirror back the last 3 words that they say. If someone says, I really hate tomatoes because they're just so squishy, you can say, they're so squishy, and let them reaffirm, yeah, when I put them in my mouth, they just get all squishy and it makes it hard for me to chew, or the water goes everywhere, whatever it might be, but reaffirm what they're talking about. And then, of course, summarize. Use the S. The S is for summarizing all the stuff. If I heard you correctly, I believe that this is what's going on. So use the OARS method as the first way to start reflecting and figuring out what it is and what it will take to change someone's belief. Our last tip, change and shift the ratio of change talk to sustained talk. And it's very hard to do, but it's something we need to think about. We need to take the form of DARN, D-A-R-N. And when we think about DARN, it means desire, ability, reasons, and need. Let's give an example. Say somebody wants to lose weight, and they'll say their desire is, I want to lose weight. They'll say their ability would be, I want to run a marathon, but I really just don't think I can. And their reasons is, I want to exercise so I can have more energy. Okay, great. Their need, I just need to get in better shape. How do we use that DARN method to help us out and to help them change their attitude? Again, remember, these are just examples, but things you can do. So on the desire piece, we might say, well, how would you want your life to be different a year from now? Again, using a how and an open question allows them to open up and give answers. Then for the ability, if you really did decide you want to lose weight, how could you do it? Again, leaving them with an open-ended question for them to convince themselves on what they might do. We get to the R, the reasons. Why would you want to get more exercise? It gets you the reasons. It pulls that out of them so that they are actually conveying to you and convincing you, but really convincing themselves, of what's happening. And of course the N, the need. How serious or how urgent is this matter? How much do you feel like you need to focus on it? Again, it invokes the need from them. Take those types of open-ended questions, whether it's in the business world, your personal world, your friendship world, wherever it might be, and use that method to change the ratio to sustained talk. Hopefully these first tips help you out in changing someone's opinion. That concludes this week's EQ video tip. Thank you again to the database specialist team for allowing me to present to your team this past week. It was a great time and I really enjoyed it. And of course, thank you for the great swag. Here's a quick summary of the tips that Eric gave us in the first half. Again, that's Eric Barker who wrote these tips for how to change people or how to get people to change. We'll be back next time with the second half of Eric's tips. Thank you. Have a great day. So that concludes our EQ video tip for today. Try incorporating some of these tips into your daily routine. But remember, use what works best for you and personalize it for yourself. Thank you always to our great research team for providing us with some great tips today. As always on EQ video tip, we want to end with gratitude. So thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Here are some resources that you can use if you want more information on EQ going forward. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.